The Holy Land, 1160 AD. 60 years after the siege of Jerusalem, the Crusaders have established 4 states in the Holy Land, protected by 60 strongholds of stone. After Jerusalem falls to the Crusaders in 1099, a new leader unites the Muslim world 80 years later. His name, Saladin. While Crusaders barely control the Holy Land, Saladin unifies what today are the nations of Egypt, Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, and northern Iraq.
There is no modern political leader you can compare to Saladin.
A 41-year-old sultan from what is now Iraq, Saladin is a piece of work.
Here you have a man who was a convinced, pious Muslim, but he was also a realistic ruler. He was not a naive innocent. He was not a saint. By and large, there's no denying that Saladin he's a hero.
Saladin's secretary describes his leader.
Whenever the Sultan shook hands with someone, he would not let go his hand until that person had taken the initiative to do so. He was a paragon of chivalry, generous, extremely modest, and had a welcoming face.
But how comfortable was Saladin on the battlefield? Was he merciful or ruthless?
He was not a saint, or indeed he could show considerable ruthlessness.
Crusaders are hard at work, building a castle at a strategic site called Vadim Yaqub. Saladin attacks before the Europeans can finish the job. Saladin's victory at Vadim Yaqub cuts the Christians down to size. After the battle, a series of peace treaties between Crusaders and Muslims are signed and broken. When Crusaders attack Muslim pilgrims to Mecca, Saladin evokes an Islamic practice almost forgotten until then. He declares a jihad.
Jihad is a declaration of holy war, and it's a holy war for defensive purposes. Saladin declares a holy war, and that's what unites the Muslims.
20,000 Crusaders learn this the hard way in 1187. When they confront the Muslim forces at a place called Hattin, death rains from the sky.
The trap which Saladin sprung on the Crusaders was brilliant. The Crusader fighters were coming from this direction, making their way down below to the fresh water badly needed in the Sea of Tiberias. When they got to this point, the trap was sprung. Saladin sent out thousands of archers from this cliff face and shot arrows down at the Crusader army.
Historians believe the mobility and accuracy of Saladin's archers were unparalleled. Even if Muslim archers were accurate, how could normal arrows possibly take out knights dressed in chainmail? Saladin's marksmen rode horses. At close range, the arrows of mobile archers had greater impact. At the Battle of Hattin, Muslim archers give Saladin the fatal edge. The entire Crusader force is either taken prisoner or killed. More traumatic still is the capture of the holiest relic in Christianity by Saladin's forces. What Crusaders believe are pieces of the true cross on which Jesus Christ died. A defeated knight sums up the Crusaders' despair.
Lord God, our war is over. We are nothing but dead men, and the kingdom has come to an end.
Hattin is important because this is where Saladin establishes himself as a military genius. It is Hattin and the fall of Hattin that really opens up and turns round the Crusades.
After Saladin's decisive victory at Hattin, he takes back the port city of Acre. 3 months later, in 1188, the Muslims win the ultimate prize, Jerusalem. When the news reaches Europe that Jerusalem and the true cross are lost, it was reported the Pope was so shocked, he dropped dead. Saladin enters Jerusalem in triumph, but not in fury. He takes control of the holiest Christian shrine in Jerusalem, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Instead of destroying the church, Saladin opens its doors to Christian pilgrims, many of them members of competing religious groups. So to prevent one Christian faction from shutting out the other, Saladin places the keys of the church in the hands of two Muslim families. Incredibly, their descendants remain the gatekeepers of the church to this day. Saladin's generosity fails to impress the European powers. A new crusade is declared with a brand new leader. This time, Saladin meets his match. June 7th, 1191. A 34-year-old English king sets foot in the Holy Land at the port city of Acre.
Richard the Leeuwenhart was a war lover. He was the greatest warrior of his time, a great athlete.
Richard the Leeuwenhart, the brave English king turned crusader, right? Not exactly. Sure, the guy's a king of England, but he's only spent 6 months of his entire life there. And guess what? He only speaks French, not English. But then, as now, money is the universal language. In a new twist on siege tactics, Richard promises his men gold for each stone they can remove from the walls of Acre nearby. It's worth every penny. Winning Acre will give Richard a beachhead in the Holy Land. But to retake the port, he'll have to breach defenses the Crusaders built when they ruled the city. June 11th, 1191. Pulling Acre apart brick by brick could take a while. To conquer the fort, Richard's army needs a shortcut. Their solution? Portable attack platforms called siege towers. Rolled up to the enemy wall, Richard's men climb stairways to the top of Acre's walls. Saladin's secretary describes the psychological impact.
It overtopped the city wall. The city garrison were greatly fearful of it and were tempted to ask for terms.
July 12th, 1191. Just over a month after Richard's arrival, the city of Acre falls to the Crusaders. It was written that Saladin looked like a mother who had lost a child. Meanwhile, Richard grows impatient when Saladin is slow to negotiate the terms of surrender. The English king orders Muslim prisoners led out of the city. One by one, they are slaughtered. 2,700 men in all. After a century of bloodshed, Richard takes a crack at shuttle diplomacy. At a military stalemate with Saladin, he sends an offer to his enemy.
Come here and listen well to my words. The country is utterly ruined, and goods and lives have been sacrificed on both sides. The time has come to stop this.
Richard express mails a wish list to Saladin. At the top is Jerusalem and the true cross. Saladin's reply is swift and sharp.
The city is as holy to us as it is to you. It is therefore out of the question for us to abandon it. As for the cross, it is a great trump in our hands, and we will surrender it only in return for some important concession.
According to legend, the only concession Richard has to offer is his own flesh and blood.
I propose that my sister, Queen Joanna, marry Melik el-Adel, Saladin's brother. Once married, the couple would become the joint rulers of the new kingdom of Jerusalem, with their royal seat in Jerusalem.
Richard may be king, but his sister is nobody's pawn. The deal is off. But here's the good news. Both sides are talking instead of killing. When Richard falls sick with fever, Saladin's personal physician makes a house call with a rare desert cocktail. Fruit juice cooled with snow from a distant mountain. From history's two most unlikely pen pals springs the hope for peace.
When we arrive at an understanding, we will meet and friendship will prevail between us.
Richard and Saladin never do meet in person. Yet on September 2nd, 1192, these two great warriors make peace. The bottom line, Acre stays a Christian stronghold. Jerusalem remains in Muslim hands, but Saladin guarantees safe passage for pilgrims of all faiths to the Holy City. And what about the true cross that Saladin refused to give up, along with the Holy Grail and the lost Ark? It too is lost in the folds of time. After spending only a year and a half in the Holy Land, Richard departs for Europe empty-handed.